Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Living Ageless and Bold. Today, we're diving in on goals, which I need a lot of help with. Debra Eckerling is a renowned goal strategist. She's an author. She's a speaker. And her goal is to simplify our goal setting process. She developed the DEB Method, which I love for her name, which we'll go into that. And she is the author of Your Goal Guide. And then more recently, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. And she is the host of the Goal Chat and Taste Buds with Deb. So welcome, Deb.
Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about goals and I love cool people. So, this is my dream day.
Perfect. Awesome. So I always say on the show, because I always interview women over 50, 18-year-old Deb Eckerling, and maybe she did, but I'm guessing wasn't like, ooh, I have these big goals in life that I'm going to check these boxes. How did you get, and I have to say though, I have to give my daughter some credit. She's 25 and she is very goal oriented, as is my son. I was not. So we'll talk more about me and the help I need. But how do you get into helping people achieve their goals?
Well, first of all, I want to let you know that 18-year-old Deb always wanted to make a difference. So for me, it didn't matter what I did. I just knew that whatever it was, I wanted to have an impact. And
you knew that at 18, you knew you wanted to make a difference.
Actually, even younger, because I was sick when I was a baby. So I lived my life knowing that I was here for a purpose. So I always felt, and I believe we all are, but you don't always know what that is yet. And I've always loved to write. So ever since I learned to tell stories, I was a big fan of that. So author Deb, not a surprise at all. And the way that I got into goals is I was doing events for Barnes & Noble. This is back when I was still living in the Chicago suburbs. And whenever I needed to fill my calendar, I would hang out in the cafe because I wanted it to be a bookstore, a community bookstore. Well, it was a bookstore in the community. And one day, one of my regulars said, would you start a writer support group? And I said, if you think people will show up, let's give it a shot. And I did, and it was a hit. But not only that, I learned firsthand the power of setting goals and being in this environment, because each month I would say, okay, what did you accomplish? What are your goals for next time? And how can we support you? And that was really the beginning of this. Fast forward, moved to LA, restarted the group. And over the years, it's evolved. And it's not just writers, but it's writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs. Because if you're one, you are the other too.
So true.
And then people would say, Deb, you're good at this. I've been trying to write my book for years. Can you help me? And we got it done in 3 months. Or, Deb, you're good at this. Will you speak at my event? So that's really... And on the side, my business background is communications and project management. So all of the Deb things kind of work together and have made me.
That's awesome. Okay, talk about the DEB method. I love how you did that. I saw that. I was like, oh, can I steal that with Christina? I don't think that's going to work, but I love the DEB method.
Well, you can add, if you've got the 8 letters, don't we love a good acronym? And so I had been teaching my methodology leading workshops. And then the spring of 2018, my main communication client was going away. And I was seeing this, okay, it's an opportunity to really step into what I believe I was meant to do. And then my mom said, well, you hate SMART goals. Why don't you create DEB goals? And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. My name worked with what I've been teaching for years. And just sort of came together. I also feel I need to clarify, because whenever I say I hate SMART goals, people ask. So let me answer that question before you get to it. I believe SMART goals are a tool. But what you really need to achieve your goals is the foundation, which is what the DEB method is all about. So DEB is determine your mission, because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. Explore your options. Okay, how am I going to bring this out into the world? And brainstorm your path is all about making a plan. So when you know what you want, you can build from there. And we all kind of know the answers. We just don't take the time to ask the questions.
So let's back up a little to women over 50. And we're at a big transition point in our lives. Maybe we're like, I am an empty nester now, or I have one of my girlfriends just retired from corporate. She never had kids and shot up the ladder and was amazing, this incredible career. So we're all at different stages, but we're all at this, okay, I have a whole life left to live. At this age now, we're healthy, we're fit. I always say, hopefully we've saved a little bit of money, that we have this huge opportunity in front of us. But what if we're not sure? Like, how do we start brainstorming? How do we do the B to get to the D?
Well, actually, you started the E. Okay, so I've got this. Which is really funny, because when I was writing the book, I'm like, where do I put this? So one of my favorite tools, I call it directed journaling. And I ended up putting it as the first phase in explore your options. But I think I even say, if you're having trouble with D, skip ahead, read this section, go back. But basically, I know way too much explanation, but clearly I love to talk, which is great because that is what I get to do, right? Anyway, directed journaling is basically journaling with a purpose. So what you want to do is schedule 3, 4, 5, 15-minute appointments with yourself. And then you're just going to journal the answer to a very specific question or series of questions. And it could be as simple as, what's next? So unload your brain, right? The other trick with this is don't read your ramblings until after you've done it 3, 4, or 5 times, because you will go through and you will find common themes. So like I said, it's at the beginning of the explore your options part when it's like, okay, this is my mission. What do I do with it? But if you need, okay, what is my mission? What do I love? What was that thing that brought me joy when I was a kid? Maybe I need to play with that. Or what do I do in my spare time? Or what are the skills that I learned in all these corporate or entrepreneurial years that I want to bring into my next phase? So anything, but the idea is to be really specific with that question. So your tangents are all basically on the same path. And then what you do is go and first read through them, like straight through, and then read it again, but with either a highlighter or a notepad or whatever, and pick out the common themes, because something that you thought was what you were all about, or in the case of when you're figuring out what to do with it, you may have thought that this one thing, this one skill that everybody says, oh, you're so good at this, you should start a business on this or whatever. But you only wrote about that like twice. Whereas this thing, maybe you had a lemonade stand when you were a kid, or I was like I was so pre-Uber Eats. What I would do is I would put a bunch of food in my wagon and go door to door to see if people needed food. So, what was that years and years? I always loved the grocery store. So years and years ago, what was that thing that you were excited about? What was that club in college or in a high school? And what does that mean for who you are now? So start with what's next. Do I want to, and even back up a little bit more. Is this a hobby? Do you want to start a new business? Did you always want to write a book or a play or a screenplay or even like op-ed opinion pieces? What vehicle do you want to use to share your voice? A podcast, right? That should have been probably the first thing I said. But what do you want to do? You know,
I'll tell you a really fun activity that people can do with this. So if you want to not write it down, if you want to type it and do that brain dump. Like when I was 10, I loved the lemonade stand. When I was in college, I loved this. When I worked corporate, I liked this. I didn't like this. Like brain dump, spend a week brain dumping.
Right.
And then just cut and paste it all into ChatGPT and say, what do you think I should do with my next 50? Like what could I do with this? Give me 10 ideas of what could be on the horizon for me. And it's a pretty cool, fun, again, if you're not sure, but you have to be really clear. That's the trick with ChatGPT. You really have to tell it. But, I love this as a kid, and we've had so many guests talk about what brought you joy as a child. And I had Carla Hall on recently, and our episode went full circle because as a child, she loved art and loved to draw. Well, then, she's a big celebrity chef. Well, now she's writing children's books. And it's all come full circle. And you just said that, and she's doing a one-woman play.
And I did
in her 60s.
I love it. I have to tell you, you want a theme? I know 2 other people doing one woman plays and shows. It's amazing. You can just racket them all up. I mean, seriously, this is the time. And it's really funny. So you keep referring to women over 50. I always identify as a Generation Xer. And I get that I'm that other thing, over, I won't even say the number, but I get that. But the other thing, and I'm sure this is not just me, is it really is a number. It means nothing.
I have a girlfriend who worked with a bunch of 30-somethings, and they would be like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 58, but I identify as a 29-year-old. I was like, I love that. Like, that's just perfect.
That's good. That's another.
Is that good?
Well, and when I was leading the goal groups, when I first started them in LA, one of the members would get frustrated because I would always say I was 28. And she said, Deb, when you started this group, I was younger than you, and now I'm older than you. Okay. I mean, go to LinkedIn, do math, but I'm not going to correct you.
Oh, you're funny. So for our fellow Gen Xers, we're doing this brainstorming exercise, which I love. Kind of put everything down, and then you find a theme. So let's say the theme is the lemonade stand. How do you figure out? Again, ChatGPT is just a fun exercise to give you. I say use it for ideation. Don't use it to create your life,
right.
But to give you some ideas. But then what's kind of your next process in the DEB method?
Well, actually, we're going to have to go backward to go forward. But the other thing I was going to say is, remember what I was saying about SMART goals? It is the same thing as ChatGPT. It is a tool. If you can use the principles, the basics behind it to give you information that's going to make your life better, that is going to make it easier to achieve your goals, then do that. That's all. But it is not the whole shebang. And the minute you think is the whole shebang, you are not going to set yourself up for success. And I am all about setting yourself up for success. So,
and give some tips for that, because I feel like I have goals and I have checklists, and they say you're supposed to have checklists because you feel better, and you can check something off, you've accomplished something. And maybe I shoot for the moon. So
why wouldn't you?
Maybe exactly. And I've always said that, but sometimes I get overwhelmed kind of with imposter syndrome. I went like, oh, I want to do that, but can I really do that? I can do that, but it's the whole, a little bit of self-doubt, a little bit. So how do we set realistic goals and not be crushed if we set a big one and it doesn't quite work out?
Oh, so many things. Okay. So first let's back up. So we did this thing. You're like, what is it? When I think about the life I want, what does that look like? When I think about that next chapter. So that is the first part in determining your mission. So what is that? And then you can use all this information that you gathered to write a new current bio that really leans into this current you at this stage in your life, and then your future bio. And I remember it used to be, when you look at your life in 10 years, what does that look like? I mean, we don't even do that. We don't even tell 20 and 30 somethings to do that because everything changes so quickly. So write a future bio for like a year from now. What do you want it to be saying about you? And again, after you do a little bit more exploration, you can tweak it a bit, but use who you are, what you believe, your values to create this mission statement. So I am all about using my books, my skill set, my experience, my workshops to help as many people as possible figure out what they want and how to get it so they can live a better, more fulfilled life. So if you are looking to make an impact, just write a mission statement that's kind of a version of that. And then you come up with that motto. So yours, living ageless and bold, pretty simple. And everything that you do is in alignment with that. My motto is goal setting simplified, because everything that I create has really easy instructions, because as you keep alluding to, change is hard. Doing things is hard. So I just made the instructions easy, so it is step by step to get you where you want to go. So this is the foundation. And if you want, you can do the E and then go back. So explore your options. You figured out, okay, these are 10 possibilities. You whittle it down to maybe 3, do a little bit of research, ask the people, listen to podcasts, ask the people who have done what you want to be doing, do an idea exchange, maybe even get a buddy and see about helping each other, right? And then whittle it down to, okay, I think this is going to be my new thing. Okay, we just breeze through the E. And then brainstorm your path is write everything down. And this is dream goals, little goals, action items, tasks you want, personal, professional, but basically write down everything in your head that you think you need to do to create this new reality for yourself. And I'm a big fan of writing it on paper and then typing it in, because I always edit when I type things in. I do this when I write books too. You know, every outline, every draft starts with a legal pad, and then it's another revision when you're typing it in. So same thing with the...
Do you know that there is a study about legal pads, yellow pads, and if you write your intentions or your goals on a yellow pad, you are more likely to succeed with them.
Does it have to be yellow?
I honestly believe the study was a yellow pad.
You know,
and I don't know why.
This is
something
really
to Google.
interesting. It's interesting because, so I've got these sticky notes that are yellow, and I also have my legal pads, which are white. So but I'm always drawn to write on the sticky notes and use this for notes. So I'm going to test that theory, and I will get back to you.
I was going to say, let me know.
I will absolutely let you know. So you want to write everything out, and then you want to divide and conquer. So you've got your big list, and then you want your personal goals and your professional goals, but you also want to merge the projects. So let's say you want to start a podcast. Great example, because we're both podcasters and we love the power that comes with it. Well, something else that you're going to need with a podcast, or pretty much anything else, is a website or blog, because you need a home base for this content. And that's why this is a great example, because you could use it for just about anything. So what you want to do is think of the benchmarks that you need for creating this website. So it's the technical specs. So the goal is to do a website for your new podcast or your business or your blog or your whatever. First benchmark is the technical specs, you know, the name, the hosting, getting all your social URLs. The next benchmark is the branding. What are you going to use? What are your colors? What's your about? What is the flavor, you know, the motto, the log line? What are you creating, and what does that look like visually, but also in the description? And then the third is the content. What are you going to do? What are your main pages going to be? What are you going to blog or podcast about? And map that out. So when you achieve each of these benchmarks, you've created a website. So you want to look at you do the action items lead to each benchmark, and each benchmark is part of reaching a short-term goal. And the short-term goals together get you to those longer-term goals. Simple.
And I want to throw something out about, for example, podcasting. So if you had said to me 2 years ago, Deb, if we were having a conversation like, oh, Christina, you should podcast. I'd be like, there's no way I'm doing a podcast. Like, there was no way. I was not interested. No. And then the topic came up, and I knew I needed to have this platform. It was really important to me as things in our world were evolving about women our age. And I was just getting angrier and angrier. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight these amazing women. But the tech part of it would have stopped me in my tracks, because I'm good enough at tech. I couldn't edit. And at first I was like, oh, I can do this. No way. I couldn't edit audio. I couldn't. So you have to be willing. Like, I hired somebody right out of the gate to set it up for me, and I designed you talked about branding, because I didn't know if it was going to be 2 episodes. I mean, I'm over 100 episodes now. So I did then pay to have some branding done, but I started with just a little thing I made on Canva, because I could do that, but I did have to hire someone to get me over the hump and get that technical part. And I still use him. He edits every episode. So don't let things stop you like that. You've got to be open to, okay, I'm not good at that. I can get help with that. That will help me achieve this goal.
I love that. I'm going to, so add another list when you're doing your brainstorm, or when you're dividing it out to, what are the things that I need to outsource? Easy. And the website too, that's something that a lot of people don't, I can do my web stuff. And if I need to, I have a web person who I have used for years, and he keeps an eye when it needs to have updates, or, when the new year rolls around, and it, from like the super minor things, so I can interface with it. But for the new website for 52 Secrets, I said, here's the information. I do not have the time or the bandwidth. Gave him my vision. And if you go to 52secretsbook.com, you will see it is a very simple website, but my other one is the DEB Method. So that's where I do my goal chat recaps. This one is very focused on the book and events and newsletters and all that sort of thing. So I know we like to have one umbrella, but in this case, I decided 2 were appropriate. So anyway, so you've got your lists, and then you were asking about strategies for success. And this is a thing. And it doesn't matter your age or your level of a home life. We all have things. We've got personal obligations along with the professional ones. And maybe you're retired and you're volunteering and you're doing other things, or maybe you're volunteering, or maybe you're retired or thinking about retiring, and your schedule is like back to the hell with things, or maybe it is completely empty. This is the thing. You need to look at your schedule before you set these to-dos, these tasks, because you always want to set yourself up for success. I have, if I have a deadline, I'm going to do less client work. My book, 52 Secrets, got the okay in the beginning of June, and it was due in August, which is insane, by the way. This is not normal. Most books, you've got a much longer lead time. One of my subspecialties is book proposals. So you've got this, book proposal, you can write the book quickly. So the point being, I did less freelance writing in the last month before my book was due, because I was interviewing these experts and putting their profiles together. So when you've got these goals, and then I kept a list of all the things that I plan to do, once the book's done, start getting people excited about it, all the initiatives. Sometimes things are not yet. So if you want to start a new endeavor and you don't have a lot of time, gift yourself. I love using that word. A half an hour twice a week, an hour a week. Make it an ongoing appointment while you're exploring what these things are. Once you figure out what you're going to do the same thing. Look at your schedule, say, okay, I can commit 2 hours a week to this. And I'm putting at the beginning of the week, you put those appointments in the calendar. And this is the trick. If you need to move the appointments, which only in an emergency, right? Because you need to treat these appointments with the same respect that you would treat an appointment you made with someone else. But things happen. But look at your life, put in the appointments, and know that if you need to, you can move them, but you cannot delete them. So you're committing the beginning of each week to the amount of work. If you can do more, great. But I only want you to commit to what you can do because you want to feel good about this. You want to feel the wins and use those wins to propel you forward as you continue this process.
And I tell you, years ago, I did that with working out. And because I like to work out in the morning, but if you have a morning meeting, I've got to take a shower, I've got to get ready. It can't be done. I will put it in my calendar. I will block it off certain amount of time. If I need to get home and freshen up for another call or a podcast interview, I'll, make sure that's in my calendar. But I've been doing that for years and it works. And I do not delete it. I do it. And that's, and I love that. So you just stars. Move it. If something comes up, move, I get a star. If you're listening, not watching, I just got a gold star for that. But yeah, it's really important. And I like that in terms of the goals. And there's certain things like for Living Ageless and Bold, I just got my first freelance article. And it was just published and I'm so excited. It's like a whole new venture on this, but I don't have time to write more, pitch more my stories. And that's really what I want to do. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to block 2 hours in my calendar that is strictly for pitching my articles. I like that. Thank you.
Well, that's what you do. And then you keep the win list, right? And my win list philosophy has evolved. You can keep it on paper in a journal sort of a thing. You can keep a Google Doc. But what I like to do is the beginning of every month, I set an appointment at 6:00 that says the name of the month, the year, wins. And so I get a reminder to write down my wins. So you just put the date, 1 to 3 lines. That is it. And then you save it as the next day so you get the reminder again. So this way, at the end of the week or the month, when you're like, I'm not getting anywhere, you just have to look at your win list and be like, oh, okay. It's not as, by the way, it's never as fast. And I'm sure listeners who or watcher, the audience who's worked for years in business knows nothing comes quickly. Ever.
Well, my husband gave me a plaque that says, and I have it on my desk, overnight success takes 15 years.
At least.
Right. If not more. But I love this with the wins. If you all take nothing else away from this, and that doesn't have to be, starting something new just for life. Like sometimes life gets overwhelming just to say, oh my God, I've had a terrible week. No, I didn't. Look what happened on Monday. I forgot about that already. That was so good. That's brilliant, Deb. I love that.
And thank you. And it can be as simple as I made soup. Let's say you had a really rough day, but you made soup. Awesome. I mean, we have to celebrate everything. And at the beginning, and I love doing, occasionally I'll do goal workshops for businesses or teams. And I love it when I get to do them like right before their annual review, because you always need to start with the wins. And so any workshop I start is, what is your biggest win this week, this month, in the last year? What win do you want to be celebrating a year from now? And if that's all that you do, so at the beginning of your win, and I will do at the beginning of January, I will put like 3 things that I plan to accomplish. And then I will do my daily wins and we'll see, and sometimes life happens. Okay. Frequently life happens. Things will take you off course. And that's why I'm so big on the D's that determine your mission. So when you know who you are, what makes you unique, what you're about, every decision that you make when opportunities come your way, you can make sure that it is in alignment with who you are, what you want to put out in the world. So
it's so good. And I don't know if it's the SMART method or not with the rocks and the boulders. Have you ever heard that one?
What you need to put the rocks in first?
You do the rocks, but the boulders are your big goals. You're big. So you shouldn't have 50 boulders on your list for the year. You have one or two to move that boulder throughout the year. And the rocks are the ones that you can build up and accomplish and then, use that to help get to the boulder.
I will tell you another cheat that I do. So I am all about, and I start the new year in December because I like to give people a running start. And then in January, I talk a lot about goals because it would be silly if I didn't, because beginning of the year, and then, beginning of summer, beginning of fall. So those I think are the 4 seasons, but really every day, every week is an opportunity when you're like, okay, something needs to change. And the whole purpose of Deb and all that I do is when you embrace change, whether it's by choice or by circumstance, that's when you thrive. Okay, this life not working for me, job not working for me, side hustle not working for me. And I'm saying this hypothetically because fortunately they're working for me, right? Because I always find that when I do the things I tell others to do, I'm much more successful than when I think I know better than myself. But what I'm saying is if there's something that's niggling at you, rather than just, maybe it'll go away. Guess what? It's not going to. Take it as an opportunity, like I did with this company. And I was an editor for them for years. And Deb, we're not going to be using you after the start of this month. And I was working with them. I was special projects for their conference, which in the middle of the conference, my contract for doing the editing work with them was going to be over. So I still had to go to the conference, even though I was no longer continuing my communications work with them. And it was like, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to show up. So basically, in 2 weeks, I developed this idea and then anecdotally beta tested, what do you think of this system, which starts with the foundation for your goals? And obviously I got a lot of, that's great, because people think of the end, and the end is wonderful. It is a great place to be. But if you don't take the time, if you do not gift yourself the time to set the foundation, where are you going?
Right. Oh, Deb, I could talk to you for an hour. Our 30 minutes is like, poof, it's done. We didn't even go into your book. Maybe we'll do another episode just on the book because that's fantastic too. So everyone listening and watching, please share this episode. This is everybody needs to set goals, and the tools that Deb gave us here, the gift of time, write that down. Everybody give yourselves the gift of time. Deb, if I know I'm not allowed to say you're over 50, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about 40. Let's just say if you were to give your 10-year younger self some advice for life now, what would you say to her?
Well, let's think. 10 years ago was pre-pandemic. So let's think about that.
Is that a thing? Is that even a thing?
What?
Pre-pandemic? I said, was that even a thing pre-pandemic? Did we have a life before then?
Apparently, but let's think about this. 10 years is so I have been doing workshops, but I had not yet created the DEB Method. Your goal guide came out in January 2020, so 6 weeks before the world got changed by circumstance. And this new book, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, just came out January 2025. So I would say 10 years ago, self, Deb, it's all coming together. Just have faith and keep going.
I love that. And I'm approaching 60 and I'm kind of like, wow, I did all this in my 50s. What's next? Like there's something. So I love that. Embrace that, there's something good coming. If you're working and you're hustling and amazing. Well, all of your information is in the show notes, all the books, quickly, the 52 secrets is like weekly goal setting. So that's great to, work out the rest of this year and into the next year, but there'll be links to everything in there.
Can I tell you a secret? about
Yes.
52 secrets? They're actually 60 secrets. So for the book,
bonus.
I interviewed achievers in business, tech, entertainment, food, and creative realms and asked, what is your secret for setting goals and or getting goals? And a few of them were via email, but most of them were interviews where I would get their takes, get their concepts along with an example. And that's what the different chapters are in the book. But there are 60 because I got too many responses and I didn't have the heart to cut people from the book. So I just added a couple more. So there is a bonus in every chapter, and then the afterwards by Guy Kawasaki. So you can do one a week, and then at the end of the month, reward yourself by doing another one. Or the other thing is you can look to the different sections, which are things like focus and productivity, leadership, networking, things like that. You can go to the area that you need the little burst of assistance in and just read that. Or you could just go to any page and say, what am I going to take out for a spin today? See if it works for you. If it does, do more of it. If not, there's another 59 to test out.
That's awesome. I will have you back. We will talk about the book because we could go deep into that. So thank you so much for joining me, Deb. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a great, and I thank you to you and your community. Keep doing great things. We've got so much more to do. And the more bold we are doing it, the better everybody is.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.